4 years old, my mom always tell me actions speak louder than words. But I never truly comprehended what it meant until I was 12. I was at a youth conference, right, and the preaching had just got through, and we were socializing, and me and my friends were talking about what guys talk about, sports. And out of the corner of my eye, I see this girl, right, and she's the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. She was like an angel reincarnated. Man, it was just like a glow around her. I don't know, Brother Elijah, but I don't know if you've been through that. I don't know if you've seen somebody like that. You're just like, Lord, thank you, Jesus. But I saw her, and I've known her. I know her name, and I'm not going to say it out of respect for her and what happened. But she began walking towards me, and I began to become nervous because, as you see, I wasn't as slick, or I didn't know how to really talk with the ladies at that time. I was only 12 years old, and so she comes up to me, and she begins to introduce herself. Hi, my name is so-and-so, how are you? And in the most terrible way possible, I said, hi, my name is Ramos Marcos, and I like your shirt, or something like that. I was so nervous because she was so beautiful. And I fumbled through this conversation, and at the end of it, I got her number. Somehow, it was a miracle from God that somehow I got her number. And we began texting, and it was good, but then after a couple of months, she wanted to become more than just friends. And she was waiting on me to make the first move. She was waiting on me to ask her out. But I was comfortable with just words. I was comfortable with just texting because it was safe. It wasn't going anywhere. It wasn't going to cost me anything because at the time I was only 12. And my parents always told me, Marcos, if you're going to take a lady out, make sure you have 3 things. Make sure you have car, gas, and make sure you're prayed up. Because, man, ladies you need a special type of anointing to go out with one. But she wanted to become more than just friends. And she wanted me to act upon my words. But I never did because I was too scared. I was too nervous. And needless to say, she never texted back, and she never went anywhere from there. I didn't ask her out. She ended up going out with my friend, and I still see her at camp, and she keeps telling me, oh, why didn't you ask me out? And I said, oh, I was too nervous. I had no idea what I was doing. And needless to say, at that moment, I found out that actions speak louder than words. And also, the same thing can be applied to our faith. It's actions speak louder than words is great dating advice, but it also could be applied to our faith. Because as we read, faith without works, or in this case, faith without actions, is dead. A great example of a person who not only had faith, but also acted upon it, can be found in the text we just read, that lady we just talked about. And here we find Jesus again. He was traveling, he was preaching the word, he was performing signs, miracles, and wonders. And there was this great multitude that followed him. And in this crowd, there was a woman who was suffering from, it said, pain and sickness for 12 years. And the Bible says that she spent all she had on doctors and medicine, and none of it worked. And then she heard about this Jesus guy that was coming. She heard these great stories. He was healing, sick. He was raising the lame, and I want to get some of that. I'm tired of being where I'm at. And we see her faith in Matthew chapter 9, verse 21, when she said, if I could only touch the hem of his garment, then I will be healed. And I don't know about you, but I can feel that some of us tonight are going through some stuff, or maybe looking for something the way she was looking for something from God. And we know how to get to that solution. But many of the times, we get stuck on our own words and never truly act upon our faith. Because you see, it said, hold on, I lost my place. Let's see.
Praise God.
So we know what we need to do in order to get out of the situation. We know what we need to do in order to reach that thing we're looking for from God, but we never do it. We always say, I believe God can save my classmates, but never subject ourselves to prayer and fasting to see that God will work it through them or in them. We always say, God, I want to know more about you, but never pick up his word in order to find out more about him. I'm here to tell somebody that God thinks it's great that you want to save your classmates. God knows what you're looking for. God wants to give you what you need and what you're asking for, but he also wants to know if you're not only willing to talk the talk, but walk the walk. Because actions speak louder than words. And we have to be like that lady. We have to be desperate to do anything and everything in order to reach what we came here looking for. And I don't know about you, but when I started reading this, I saw that lady. I started picturing her. I could see her. She was kind of bent over for all the pain and all the stuff that was going on in her. And it's this crowd. It says a multitude. It wasn't just a small crowd, a multitude, thousands and thousands of people. And she's trying to get to Jesus. And with every step, I bet she felt that pain. She's bumping into somebody and she's feeling that pain. And she's not stopping because she says, I know my healing is in front of me. I know what I need is in front of me. And I'm going to keep pushing through. Even if my body hurts, even if I die trying, I'm going to get what I came here for. And she did, because it says as soon as she touched him, she was instantly healed. You see, the road to what we're looking for from God may not always be the smoothest, but sometimes it's necessary to pass through that valley. Sometimes it's necessary to pass through those difficult processes in order to come out stronger and truly appreciate what God has given us. Another great person in the Bible which had complete trust in God was Job. It said he went from being a man who had absolutely everything and anything to a man who had literally nothing. But even though he lost everything, in the book of Job, chapter 1, verse 20, it shows that he does something so out of the ordinary that shows that he still has faith in God and shows that he still trusts in him completely. This is after he found out that his kids had just died. And it says in that verse I just mentioned, it says, it says, at this, Job got up and tore off his robe, shaved his head, then fell into the ground and worshiped. Now, I don't know what it is I don't have kids. And I don't know what it's like to lose them, but I know if I ever would to lose a family member, the first thing I would do, I wouldn't probably necessarily go straight into worship. I'd probably start questioning. I'd probably start looking for answers. I'd probably be really upset. But it says here that Job began to worship because I believe that he still trusted in God. It says that he began to worship and he said, Lord, even though you gave me everything, and I thank you for giving me everything, but just as you give me everything, you can take it away in a moment. Because this was Job's way of showing God that he still trusted in him. This was Job's action of faith. You see, I learned my faith through my grandmother. Her name is Carmen Roquillo. Some of you may know her. And at a very young age, she showed me what faith was, what it was like to trust in God completely. And this year may have not necessarily been the best year for her. At the beginning of the year, she started having some heart complications. And she's really getting up there in age, and I started, kind of worrying. I said, Grandma, how are you feeling? How are you doing? Fine. Do you need anything? She goes, don't worry, Marcos. God's got it. I have trust in him. I have faith in him. And as months went on, it began to progress worse. We found out that she had a problem in her heart. She was some sort of valve dysfunction in her heart. And I was beginning to really get worried because the surgery at a woman her age, I think she's 67 or something like that, isn't necessarily a really safe surgery because of how old she is and how the way her body is now, the way her body is now. And I began to worry, and I don't know, I began to run different scenarios in my mind. I said, man, what if I lose her? And I said, Grandma, I know it's kind of bad to bring this up, but are you okay? How are you not scared? How are you not, freaking out? If I was in your place, I'd be totally terrified. And she said, Mijo, you got to understand one thing. I trust in God so much that it doesn't matter if he heals me or not. Because I know where I'm going. Even if this is the end of my story. And it turns out she needed to have surgery. And right before she went to surgery, she looked at me and she said, have faith, Mijo. Have faith. And all through the operation, I was just praying. I said, Lord, you know your will. I know you know what you got to do. And I, even with the smallest faith, I said, Lord, I trust in you completely. Because the Bible says that even with faith as little as a mustard seed, you can move mountains. And so, needless to say, she went through that surgery, and thank God she's doing great. Thank God she's finally recovering. She's, staying with my aunt, and she's doing better. But through that, I learned that having faith, having that total trust in God is very important. And in order to close, in order to finish, I just want to say, God is wanting to know not only if you have faith in Him, but what are you willing to do in order to get what you came here for? Are you willing to say, God, I want to save my classmates. And Lord, I'm not going to give up on fasting. I'm not going to give up on prayer until, Lord, you do something. Lord, I know you know the situation that I'm in. And God, I'm willing to do anything and everything I need to do in order to get what I came here for. And if you do that, the Lord will honor your faith, just like He honored the faith of the lady who touched Him. And it's, oh man, it's just amazing sometimes the way the Lord can really work in people who have complete trust and have complete faith and show that they truly trust in Him. Now, I remember a couple of months ago, I don't know why, but it's leading to my testimony. I was in a very bad spot. I grew up in church my entire life, but it's one thing to grow up in church, and it's another thing to know who Jesus really is. And I really didn't start my walk with God until I was about maybe 12. I really didn't start finding out who He was, but at the same time, I was entering a stage into my life where it was around my middle school age and my middle school age. And I began to mess with things I probably shouldn't have messed with. I began to depart more from the things of God, more of the things of God, and start leaning a little bit more into the things of this world. And I got to a point where it was truly, truly, truly dark and truly frightening. And I got on my knees right there where I was. I remember how I was. I was in my bedroom, and I said, God, either use me, Lord, or kill me now, because all I'm doing is wasting my life. And the Lord spoke to me right there, and then He said, Marcos, you got to understand one thing. It's one thing to say, Lord. It's one thing for you to say, God, I'm willing to change. And it's another thing to actually do it. Are you willing to put in the time? Are you willing to put in the consecration that it takes in order to change? And although it was hard, although it was tough, although sometimes praying wasn't easy, although sometimes fasting, it was bad because, the day I fasted, las hermanas at the church were throwing down on some pupusas, and man, it was just bad. You know how it gets. But needless to say, I'm standing here today no longer struggling with that. Yes, there comes challenges. Yes, there comes problems. But I truly put my faith and trust in God. And not only did I put my trust and faith in Him, but I acted upon it. And I'd just like to thank you for your time.